Don Ates, which was a member of the Air Force, Alderman Don Ates. And out of respect for the Veterans Commission, and I talked to Mr. Roop, which I have the utmost of respect for, and the utmost of respect for Mr. Lee here, I wanted to take just a second to let you guys know how much the veterans mean to me and how much these memorials mean to me. The work that these guys have done and ladies have done to keep up with the memorial sites and to actually build these memorial sites means more to me than you probably know. I personally have not served in the military, but my father was a Marine. He served in the Vietnam era, and he was a recon Marine from Vietnam. My daddy was a war hero, and I never knew that until he passed away. And I'd like to share just a little story with you, and I won't take up too much of your time, but I'd love to share a little story with you about how much this monument right here meant to my father. And I'll tell you what, 8 years ago, I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer. And when I went through the cancer, my dad called me and he asked me, he said, "Kid, can I come up there and take care of you?" And it was like, "Yeah, Dad, I'd appreciate it." So they gave me a short time to live, and my dad did what any good dad would do. He came to St. Peter's, lived at my house with me, and actually took care of me through this period of my time going through cancer. Well, at about 5 to 6 o'clock every morning, my dad would get in his old beat-up truck. He was a very humble, laid-back guy until you got him fired up. But anyway, he would hop in his old beat-up truck and he would just take off. He would just leave in the morning, and I would never know where he was going in the morning. Well, he would do this every morning for months on months, and finally one day I had an appointment up here at Barnes Hospital, and it was an early appointment. I had to have a PAT scan, and they wanted me to show up an hour early, so we had to show up here at 6 o'clock that morning, so he didn't get in his truck and leave without me that morning. So I live on Spencer. We're coming down Mexico Road, and as we're coming down Mexico Road, we hit this point out here on Mexico Road, and my dad looks over this memorial and just gives a little salute. So I didn't think much of it then, but I kept it in the memory bank, and we went and got my PAT scan. We went home later that day, and I just asked him, I said, "Dad, what'd you give that salute for when you went by the memorial there up by City Hall?" And he said, "Well, that's where my brothers are." So I kind of put two and two together real quick, and I said, "Well, Dad, is that where you've been going at 6 o'clock in the morning when you leave the house every morning?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "They don't have that down in the country where I'm from. You know, we're from Cape Girardeau, Poplar Bluff, and they don't have things like this down there." So he got to come up here, and apparently my dad would come up here and spend time with his brothers. Now, me not being a member of the military, I don't quite know what that means. But so we got to talk a little bit more about his service in the military and things like that, but he didn't get in any detail. My dad was very humble about his service in the military. Well, my dad ended up passing away. He took care of me. I survived that cancer. About 5 years later, my dad ended up passing away. When my dad passed away, he had told me all my life, if I ever pass away, I want to be buried with my brothers out at Jefferson Barracks Hospital. So when he passed away, I had to go to the record center to get his records to give to Bowie Funeral Home so that they could bury him out there. And on that day, I found out something about my dad that I never knew. 36 years, I've never knew this. On that day, they showed me 2 different sets of documents. They showed me a stack of classified documents because I was next of kin, and they had to show me that. And then they gave me the documents that I could have. And in those documents that I could have, I found out that my dad was a hero. My dad had earned Silver Stars. My dad had went through more things than I could ever imagine. My dad used to have to make visits to the Veterans Hospital every year in November, and he would have to stay in the hospital up there for about 15-30 days because of PTSD. And we knew, as kids, we never knew why this happened. So, come to find out, my dad was a war hero, and I've actually got one of the write-ups here on how he got one of his Silver Stars and how he got one of his Bronze Stars. So, I just want to let you guys in the crowd know, and I want to let the Veterans Commission know that I'm very grateful that we had this. That way, the time that my dad spent here on Earth, he had a place to go to spend a little time with his brothers, you know. And we do a good job here in St. Peter's. This Veterans Commission is second to none. And I know that my dad appreciated that. And I've got to tell you, Alderman H noticed this, and I noticed this. But when we were doing the Pledge of Allegiance, and this may not mean much to you guys, but it means a little something to me, and you can call me crazy after this event's over if you like. That's just fine. But there was a little mouse sitting right here whenever we were doing the Pledge of Allegiance. And I pointed that out to Don Aids, and he sat right here the whole time. And I'm going to tell you what, I'm just going to say that that was my dad sitting there with us here today, and he was here with his brothers on this Veterans Day. So I thank you guys for being here today. I thank you for letting me be here today, and I thank the Veterans Commission for doing such a great job. Thank you so much.